Hey, hello everyone, this is French Vinyl Addict on the episode 2 of the latest purchases I made last month and the month before. So yeah, if you follow this channel, you may already have noticed that I already, a couple of weeks ago, I think, posted the first episode here to cover the entire vinyl haul, which goes for May and June 2025. Yeah, since I do have a very decent batch or stack of records that I found in various different ways, going to the local stores over here in Montreal, online purchases as well. Yeah, I decided to split here to do part 1, part 2. So today's episode, it's the last one, not the last forever, but May, June 2025, we are all done. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into the rest, or the first record in today's video. So starting by interesting folk stuff. Yeah, I visited Au-33 Tours, which is the biggest record store we do have here in Montreal. So for those who maybe will be taking a trip over here, it's the go-to place. I know it last year, so in summer, Dom, Singing Shred, came over. Steve, A for Alice, B for Bob, he came a little bit later. But those are the place, Au-33 Tours, where we have to go to. You see, it's definitely as I said, the number one store, not the number one store, but the biggest place we do have here. And they have a fairly decent world music section, folk music as well. And the first record I'm gonna talk about, and I'm giving a shout out to Joseph Isola, who is a French vinyl friend, VC friend, as I like to call him, very into folk, very into Bob Dylan jazz as well. And he's the one who had mentioned this album on a weekly live stream. Myself, Stundy, Stun Rock Confusion, and myself, we do host every Sunday morning on the French-speaking channel, Disco de du Pif. Joseph mentioned this record, very interesting. So, and as it happens, I found a copy, the very same copy, Le Chant du Monde, French folkways, if you want, of this album. What is that? Folk album, definitely revisiting the tradition we had, or we used to have in France, whatever. So by this guy who sadly passed away, was very, very important, Claude Flagel, equivalent of Lomax maybe, or Cecil Sharp, as he collected a numerous of songs, made lots of record. He was half French, half Belgium, I think. And this is an album he made back in the days, the hurdy-gurdy, so and it sounds like very psychedelic, very interesting. And to me, I live here in Quebec, so it reminds me a little bit of the local folk traditional songs I hear over here. Not only the fiddle or the pattern, the melody, but the accent as well, because some song reminds me a little bit, when I hear the lyrics, the pronunciation, it reminds me of the old French as I hear over here. So really interesting, really psychedelic. Yeah, I purposely use the word psychedelic, not by mistake. Really, really interesting. But to be honest, this is a go-to label. Le Chant du Monde, French folkways. I say maybe something for you, Mike, Spiral vinyl. So who knows? But really, really nice. And they had another record, I think in the same crate, same label, still Le Chant du Monde. An artist I didn't know much about, and this is what a vinyl community is all about. I was texting Joseph once again, and he was really nice. He replied me, said, yeah, this is something you really have to consider. This is Marie-Paul, French singer, mid-70s, folk with Celtic influence from Brittany, from Bretagne. So, but not a lot of mysticism, not a lot of Celtic, the harp, something like that. But very pop, pop, very easily, very accessible. So it's a great voice. Reminds me a little bit of Baba, but it's different. It's a different range, obviously. But not too fucked up, if you know what I mean. So Marie-Paul, really interesting. Next one is an album from here, I try whenever I can to source local stuff, and this is Arthabasca, La Montée des Trois Sources. Arthabasca is a small city or a collection of, I think, villages in the on the south shore, Trois-Rivières, somewhere between Quebec City and Montreal on the south shore. So yeah, and yeah, this is a typical stuff you can find over here. You know, if you are into like folk mid-70s beatnik bands, you know, they were revisiting their traditional stuff, adding pop or contemporary. As I say, I tend to use the word beatnik. You know, but it's interesting. It has all we like when we like this kind of stuff, with some great arrangement, a little bit electrical. You know, we had bass guitar, we had. But we also some more traditional stuff like flute, you know, like saxophone, like piano. So very, very interesting as well. La Montée des Trois Sources. Moving on with an album I've been on the lookout for month, maybe for years. An album, Fred, my friend Fred, BigStar1000. He once had made a video about, you know, Prague, Quebecois. He lives in Australia, but he has a decent collection of Prague Quebecois stuff. And the one album he was mentioning back in the days was this one from Manège. I already have the first and the second album from Manège, but clearly my favorite one. You know, it's Prague, but it's instrumental, and just by the list of all this instrument, you know, it's simply crazy. It's instrumental, but like very rich, like great orchestration, wind instruments all over the place. So yeah, really cool if you are into this kind of classic inspired Prague instrumental, whatever. So really interesting. So not like too much expressions, really down to earth, and well composed, as I said. So finally I got his copy. And for those who are interested, who lives in Montreal or area, you know what I'm talking about. There is lately all these albums have lately been reissued on the label called Return to Analog. And it's pretty cool because this is an OG copy, but some stuff from back in the days are pretty much harder to get a hold of. And this is a good opportunity to discover or rediscover the legacy, you know, of the Quebecois Prague folk rock from back in the day. But this is an OG copy, as I said. Some stuff are pretty much easy to find OG, some aren't. So yeah. And the next album is a perfect example because I think that's an OG copy, but it has also been released on this Return to Analog label. This is Slosh Stadacone. I think the second album, we are back to the prog as we do like over here on this channel. So the gentle giant, you know, jazz rock, contemporary, some elements ish. As I said, the scene, as I too much mentioned on this channel, that the prog scene was very like booming in the 70s. We had like bands like Harmonium, which we lately discussed about because Serge Fiori sadly passed away. I made a homage video on this channel. We had bands like, you know, Morse Code, Opus 5, just to name a few. But these guys, they came from Quebec, and I think Stadacone is the ancient name. It's what we the name city or the place Quebec City. The previous name, whatever, before we named Quebec. So 76 album, as I said, symphonic prog. Really glad I could find iconic Canadian artist, singer-songwriter. The first record I bought from this guy, and yeah, we find this records from Gordon Lightfoot pretty much easily over here in Montreal and Toronto as well. The reason I bought this album in particular is because of one song, The Wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald. Yeah, I do have a special connection with this song. The very first time I took a trip to Canada, you know, back in the days I was still living in France, 12 years ago something, some guy told me about this song, you know, the history, the drama behind, and yeah, this simply because I really like this album. It's really like quiet, it's really like, you know, it's folk, but like lots of ballads. It's not like really powerful folk with lots of fiddle, you know. Pretty much easy listening, but yeah, interesting. Gordon Lightfoot. Don't have to introduce to any Canadians out there. I found another album which I look at for years as well. This one, Zephyr or Zephyr, don't know how to pronounce. I would say Zephyr, but anyway, Zephyr, interesting, with Tommy Bolin. Tommy Bolin. I know Steve loves Tommy Bolin, and there were this other French dude on the VC who once told me about this album. And it's really interesting. Whenever I listen to this one, it reminds me of Blues Creation, which is not an American band, which is a band from Japan. This heavy blues, hard rock, early 70s stuff. This one's 69, but Blues Creation a little bit later. And when they had this singer called Carmen Maki in the band, lots of great. It reminds me lots of this band. So. Really cool. Probe. I paid 15 Canadian, so how about that for a OG press release on Probe? Okay, I have to confess, the record is not mint. I have to admit, but plays really cool, like a thick disc, from back in the days. So I don't have any issues on my turntable. But of course, it's not a mint copy for 15 Canadian. Yeah, but. Doesn't matter. Now another album I found in Montreal. We are still talking about the stuff I found locally. So various stories. Au 33 Tours, L'Échange. That's another place where people bring their stuff. They can find pretty much crazy stuff. And Ship Trails. That the third place I've been to, and I found this one as well at L'Échange. The reason I bought this one, this is lots of nostalgic. A good friend of mine once went to not Algeria but Tunisia, I think, and he brought me the cassette of this album. So this is the stuff I used to listen to when I was like 16 or 17 years old back in the day. So I found this one on vinyl. It's pretty hard to find those stuff on vinyl because the cassette was the go-to format for this genre, particularly back in the days. Really interesting. He had some success, this guy. So this is Rai, not the Italian first TV channel. Yeah, this is a genre that emerged not even in North Africa. People were originally from North Africa, but the hub, the studio, the production was really like in Paris. But those people were like established there, and this is an 85 or 89, I'm not even sure. Anyway, but this is like really crazy with that buka, with this kind of rhythm melody from North Africa. So Cheb Khaled, Safi Boutala, really like this one. Now an album, I was talking about Claude Flagel, the very first record I did showcase on today's video. And the reason I bought is because we were talking about Stunty. Stunty actually is the one who discovered this project 2 months ago, and I think he played a record on his he played a record on his weekly live stream on Friday. Sorry, I have Stunty, and on the day after, or not Friday, on Sunday, the artist himself participated in the live stream, and we had another opportunity to talk about his record, which is this one, which is a new project, obviously. Tartine de Clous, Comptez les dents, really interesting, really funny name if you speak French. Tartine de Clous, how can we translate this? Toast of needle. Yeah, maybe. Comptez les dents, count the teeth, very funny. And this is a polyphonic stuff, from Vendée, from the Vendée region, so a place in the west part of France. These men did a tremendous job, listening to old folk stuff from there, male vocal stuff, hours long. Mike Van Sparrow got himself a copy as well, so the new old folk stuff, revisiting our legacy. Really cool, really glad I have found this. I found available on Bandcamp. So as I said, a new album, 2024 release. I think it's their third project, and yeah, they were in contact with Claude Flagel back in days. They spent hours together, you know, trying to grasp the essence of the French folk. Beautiful, absolutely stunning. Tartine de Clou. Moving on with other stuff, we are still in the folk department over here. An album I bought online, but I went to the store itself, since, you know, it's a place called Le Vacarme, a great store here in Montreal, and the guy has several hats, as we say in France. He's a multitasking guy. He runs a record store. He's been running a record store for years. He hosts a radio show, I think every Monday, and he runs a label. How about that? Specializing in post-rock stuff. So this is Jeff, a place called Le Vacarme. I will put some information, and he always has some great stuff, fairly priced, new used. This is located in St-Hubert Street in Montreal. So is at Beaubien neighborhood. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. What doesn't matter. And he had, I bought from this place this album. This is a recommendation from Fred. Once again, Zibile Baya, color green. Very interesting story behind this project. This is a folk stuff. Reminds me a bit of Vashti Bunyan, you know, the way she sings. And okay, she had recorded demos, I think, back in the days, and it was previously unreleased, as we often said back in the days. And I think it was his son, many years after, he rediscovered the tapes, or the reel-to-reel, whatever, and he said, okay, this is really good. So he did a job, you know, he just like pushing the doors, you know, to pick the curiosity of label, and he was finally he saw finally the day of light, this album in 2006. So a great story. So this is like really quiet, real peaceful, voice, piano, you know, yeah, very simple but beautiful as well. And another classic album, this one, Bridget St. John's. This is a reissue I got. Finding an OJ is not that hard. It was originally released on the Dandelion label, John Peel's label, as you all know. There were some people in the entourage of Bridget St. John, like John Martin, for instance, Rob Kissing, who played with or composed Adam Haar Mother, as you know, and John Peel as well. So and yeah, so this is another classic stuff. If you are into, I am very like into folk, into the revival of British folk from the 60s. You know, all these bands, they were trying to bring something new to the table while rediscovering their own legacy. You know, adding either more rock aspect like Fairport Conventional still happen, or more jazz stuff. You know, like Pentangle, John Martin, or more like chanson singing. Beautiful Bridget St. John's, great album as well. So here we go. And I do have some stuff from which I purchased. Oh no, a last one I bought at Au 33 Tours. A last one, very interesting as well. This is not a rarities, or I don't even know, but who cares. This is a Japanese press of an album I never saw before, never saw on Discogs. I didn't know it existed. To be honest, this is the Strobes, and this is not even an album from the UK catalog. Interesting time when we as I do have some interest for the folk stuff, for the prog stuff. Perfect, since that's the 1973 albums. Pretty much interesting era. Rick Wakeman had played with the Strobes on from the Witchwood album, and this is when they were like gradually moving away from the more traditional folk to more prog stuff, you know. So yeah, he had played only with on one album. So yeah, his arsenal, you know, Rick Wakeman. And it's funny because it's mentioned Strobes with Dave Cousins, and this is a picture of Mr. Rick Wakeman with his cape, iconic cape, you know, like I think every punk aficionados, they wear a cape when they go to concert, right, Ben Rankins, our vinyl Nick Butty? I'm joking, of course. And yet it's interesting because it's a collection, as I said, of songs. Side one sounds really like the songs as we can hear on the From the Witchwood, and the side two are the songs that appear on the solo album David Cousins released 2 weeks last July, I think was the name. So more folk aspect, really interesting. So I'm really glad I could find this one as well. Moving on with okay, we are staying a little bit in the folk stuff for a while with a classic album from Steel Ice Pan, and I already had mentioned this band I think a couple of minutes ago, since this is the very stuff I'm really into, and I'm planning on doing some maybe live stream in the fall, maybe in September, we'll see. Talking with some VC friends, maybe several people show interest about folk. Yeah, interesting. Okay, Steel Ice Pan, a band formed by Ashley Hutchins, who had left Fairport Convention, and this is interesting because at the time he was still in the band. So Mr. Ashley Hutchins and Martin Carthy was still in the band as well. So yeah, anyway, I don't find his the picture. Okay, here we go. Martin Carthy, yeah. And yeah, Maddie Pryor, Tim Hart, beautiful vocalist, perfect. Little bit, this one a little bit less upbeat, feel good album than maybe Below the Salt, which came a little bit later when Ashley Hutchins and Martin Carthy had already left the building, but a little bit more mysticism, quiet, pay great tribute to the English folk while adding electrical influence, or great album, 10 Men Mop, Mr. Reservoir Butler, 10 Men Mop, or Mr. Reservoir Butler Rides Again. That's the name of the album. Finishing off Street 3 Records, another stuff from North Africa, recorded in France, as I mentioned. Was a second maybe singer who was like very, very famous back in days late. This is one of these earliest album, 86, and 86 is a great year in the French VC, you know what I'm talking about. So Cheb Mami, this is a Prince of Rai, or Rai music, and yeah, it's with production is a little bit old when we listen to this album, but now it's you know, some orchestration, some instruments, you know, it's a little bit like not really up to date, but he has a great voice, and it doesn't sound too much as a wedding, you know, songs, you know, North African wedding. Still cool. 86, really glad I could find this one as well. And finishing off with with two classics album which I didn't have in the collection. This one, Judy Driscoll, Jules Open, and you know, if you watch the episode 1, Fred sent me as a gift the greatest hit of Brian Auger, Judy Driscoll, and at the same time I was like getting hold of this copy, which is a 67 album, rhythm and blues, Brian Auger, master on keyboard. I don't have to introduce this one, of course. Rediscovering those stuff which I really like, you know, this rhythm and blues, soul-ish, jazz rock. It's really pleasant. So and Judy Driscoll, what a voice. We often talk about Affinity, you know, that famous project, you know, and there is a lot of hype because of Vertigo, you know, square label, but this deserves also, this would deserve maybe more attention. And those records are really affordable. I was surprised myself. This is a UK press, first UK press. Okay, let's say VG Plus, and I didn't pay $20 for that. So how about that? So pretty cool. And the last one, because it's video, it's already too much long. Sorry about that, but you know, I'm on a hiatus on YouTube, so I have more time to spend on buying records. So this is normal. This one, we recently made a live stream, I think on the French VC, talking about the new wave stuff, and a band, or I knew about Simple Minds, you know, Alive and Kicking and all that, pretty much this area I was focusing on. But for some reason I had overlooked the beginning of their career, so the Empire and Dance in this era as well, which I regret, but you know, it's like I'm catching up. And so they already have their signature sound effect. It's a little bit less pop, I would say, less calibrated than the style they will be doing in 84, maybe 85. They were still playing in small clubs, you know. They were still playing in small clubs in France in 84, 83 something. And I think weeks after, you know, when you know, they had their success with the Breakfast Club, you know, it skyrocketed. But the rest is history. So an 81 record, UK press as well, Sister Feelings Call, Simple Minds, which concludes today's video. This is it. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next chapter. Bye bye.